For over 20 years, the Lexus RX has won the hearts of people all over the globe because of its dependability, reliability, and luxuriousness. Unfortunately, fuel economy has never been a strong suit, even with the hybrid RXs, and although this one isn't the fastest RX, this one for surely is the most fuel efficient RX, touting almost 40 mpg. Let's take a look at the most fuel efficient Lexus RX in the world, the RX 350h. This particular RX is a pretty well-optioned 2023 RX 350h luxury in iridium silver. A very interesting looking color because it has some blue in it, but I'm not much of a silver guy myself. This RX also has a catalog worth of options on it, bringing the MSRP of this one to $66,000. That is a lot of money, and we'll see if it's worth it. But I can say that this thing presents itself very well, just like all other RXs. I will say there has not been an RX that I've not liked how it looks. This one also fits under that category because I don't dislike how it looks, but I'm still not that used to the nose. Even after almost a week of being with this car, this front bulging grille that's part of Lexus's new unified spindle grille just looks a little bit weird to me. Today we're going to primarily be focusing on the RX 350h, and Lexus offers 4 different grades or trim levels for the 350h, starting at the base, which is just over $50,000, then the premium, premium plus, and then the luxury model like this one. RX hybrids of the past, like the RX 400h and the RX 450h with the V6s, were oriented more towards performance over fuel economy. But Lexus fixes that issue, if you would say, if you're a little bit more fuel-minded. Lexus also offers a 500h, which uses a 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, and a hybrid system, but we're gonna talk about the most fuel efficient RX. So under the hood of the RX 350h is no longer a V6, even if you hear RX 350. The normal RX 350 uses a 2.4 turbo without a hybrid, but again, this is the hybrid. So it's a slightly bigger 2.5-liter 4-cylinder, the same powertrain that you'll find in the Toyota Highlander and Sienna hybrids, and also in the RAV4 hybrid. It's a pretty decent powertrain. This one makes 246 combined horsepower. All RX 350h's use standard all-wheel drive, using the gas engine to power the front wheels and an electric motor powering the rear wheels, and this uses Toyota's latest version of their hybrid Synergy drive system, or now they call it Beyond Zero, but only in Toyotas. 246 horsepower and 233 pound-feet of torque. They're not extravagant numbers, but of course, get the RX 350 or the RX 500h if you want more performance. This thing touts 37 mpg in the city, 34 on the highway, and a combined rating of 36. Of course, this uses an eCVT, which works pretty decent, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Lexus has stretched the wheelbase of the new RX by 3 inches compared to the outgoing model to give the second row passengers a little bit more legroom, which we'll talk about quite shortly. But in terms of wheel options, there's not a lot out there. Depending on different trim levels, you'll get different wheels, and not every single trim will have different wheels. But this one, being a luxury model, has 21-inch alloy wheels, which are a darker finish. I really like how multi-spoke wheels look on RXs, so this is right up my alley. That reminds me, if this was my car, I would have the OEM crossbars on it. Like I say, every SUV looks better with crossbars, and they don't make that much more noise. So of course the RX is a 2-row SUV, not like the outgoing model that offers the RXL. I do find it interesting that there isn't an RXL, but Lexus made the TX, because they could have just stretched the back of this and it would have looked more normal. But this being a two-row SUV makes it compete with the likes of the BMW X5, the Mercedes GLE, Mercedes-Benz GLE, and other 2.5-row tweener luxury crossovers, because this is smaller than the MDX. Now, I appreciate that the general shape of the RX hasn't changed too much. You know what this car is, but as you can see in not only the RX, but in the new GX, the new TX, the new LX, the new NX, pretty much all of, well, I think all new Lexuses are gonna have light bars. I like light bars in most applications, and I like it in this. The only thing that I wish that Lexus did was put the Lexus emblem, the real Lexus emblem, over here on top. You don't need to spell it out over here. It's just me being weird probably, but it just feels a little bit empty without a logo right here. I do appreciate that Lexus has still hidden the rear wiper, so it gives it a nice sleek rear end, and it's very easy to clean. No wipers to have to, you know. So thankfully at this price point, Lexus does offer the RX with a kick tailgate. Come on now. It did it. There we go. You have to learn how they work, but it makes it very nice because I was able to load this unidentifiable object into the trunk of this. Well, you can see how easy it is. I'm going to demonstrate as a paid actor, like as seen on TV. Oh my God. What do I do? Oh no. Oh. That's what you do. You use your foot to put the thing in the box. Well, put the box into the trunk. This thing also has a decent amount of space. Of course, the RX isn't one of the biggest in its segment, but you have just about 30 cubic feet of volume behind the second row seat. Thankfully, the opening itself is pretty square, but due to the RX's sleek and swanky appearance and side profile, you lose some of the practicality in the back here. But if you want something big and boxy, you get the GX. I like that Lexus puts a normal 3-prong power outlet back here, 110 volts. This one also has a tonneau cover on it, which was an option for a few $100s. And I am very pleased to report that even though this car is a hybrid and it's brand new, it comes with a donut, you know, and you don't have to pump it up. It's a ready to go spare tire. You don't have to pump it up, pouring in the rain, you know. Before I embarrass myself. Oh, how am I getting out of here? Why did I do that? So as you get into your RX, the first thing that you'll notice is the door handle on the, well, all 4 doors. They're buttons and not actual door handles. Oh, oh. Oh. Coast is clear. Yeah, he's gone. The door handles are buttons. So the only concern, oh my God, he's still in the car. The only concern that I have is, okay, he's gone. The only concern that I have is if the battery's dead. But let's just get inside before another bug friend gets in. The rear seat is actually very comfortable. Let me close the door. Nice solid thunk. First thing I notice is the second row passengers have sunshades in the back. That's very nice for both sides. This one also has the Mark Levinson audio system, which I'll talk about in a little bit. The bottoms are really comfortable and really supportive, especially on the outboard sides of the seats. The back is pretty nice as well, pretty soft, but like I said, this actually power reclines. Really nice. The second row seats do not slide in this one. This one doesn't have a third row, so there's no need, but there's plenty of legroom. I'm 5'9". The driver's seat is in my position, and you can see I have like 4 or 5 inches of legroom. I can fit my feet under the seats real nice. And even with the pano moonroof, I have a decent amount of headroom as well. You can also see there's map pockets on both back sides of the seats. There's also a center armrest here, which is pretty soft as well. All the materials in here feel very nice. Inside this little console is just some storage that you could fit your phone or some other things in there. There's also 2 cup holders, which are on the small side, but it's nice that there are cup holders at all, I guess. In the middle between the 2 front seats are air vents and the climate controls for the rear passengers. It's just one zone for the rear. Very nice though. And like I said, the rear seats, only the outboard seats, are heated and ventilated, and there's also USB Type-C for both rear passengers as well. Since I'm very eager to talk about how this thing drives, we shall get into the driver's seat. The door closes with a nice solid thunk as well, and this is the new Lexus key fob that they've been having it around for a few years. It's a nice size, a nice interesting shape as well, but of course push button start, push the power button. Interesting new chime that these Lexuses have. I kind of like it. The new RX has certainly exceeded my expectations in terms of interior comfort and interior quality. Every RX I've been in, doesn't matter what it is a nice vehicle. And this one does not disappoint. This one feels like it feels like an expensive car. Everything I feel is soft touch, even where my knees would rest, under the screen, very nice soft touch material. Real wood trim with brushed aluminum trim around here. Everything just feels so nice with the suede inserts as well. I think it's time to talk about the Mark Levinson system. It's a nice upgrade from the bass sound system in this. I'm not the type that's chasing for, boom, 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 boom bass, but I like being able to, especially with certain songs, feel the sound and feel the bass, and this one, just the bass isn't as strong as I'd like it to be. That's the only thing I could say about the sound system. Other than that, it sounds pretty good. But we have a 3-spoked leather and wood wrapped steering wheel with buttons on it as well. I was gonna honk the horn. Has a good sounding horn as well. There's paddle shifters on it, which work in the sport or manual mode. The headlights are automatic, and also the windshield wipers as well. There's a few buttons on the steering wheel itself, but they're not that well labeled. You have to be using the heads-up display, which is kind of annoying because the buttons themselves are touch sensitive, which is cool at first, but it kind of just is too much going on because you really have to rely on the heads-up display. But the left side of the wheel, those buttons control audio and Bluetooth controls. The right side of the wheel, those buttons control some of the driver assistance settings, the cruise control, and a few other pages in the gauges themselves. As we look up to the gauges, you'll see that they're not fully digital or full LCD. This is more Honda-like than Lexus-like. There's not that much configuration in it as well. There's just a few pages that you can scroll through for information, and also depending on your drive modes, it goes red or it goes blue. But let's talk about the head unit of this thing. A 14-inch touchscreen display. This one uses Toyota and Lexus's new connected services infotainment system. It's a decent system. It's pretty responsive, pretty snappy. I've not had any trouble with it. This supports wired and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I mostly use Apple CarPlay anyway, because the infotainment system is okay. I've dealt with more annoying systems. I'm just glad that it's all touchscreen compared to the dong, 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 the old mouse pad, which was so annoying in Lexuses. There's a bunch of nice little things in here that make it very easy to live with. One thing that made it a little bit difficult to live with at first was the climate control. Now up front, it's dual zone. You can see the rotating dials up here, which are nice, and they feel nice. Everything that you rotate feels nice, but it was just a little bit confusing having the climate controls in the screen. Thankfully, they're not lost in a menu, but there is a little bit of a learning curve. Lexus was one of the first brands to introduce self-parking, and now this one works pretty well. There's also a 360 view camera. I would expect that, and it has this really trick view when you're in park, but if you go into reverse, it has a backup camera with guidance lines that steer with the wheel. If I put it in drive, so many views to make it really easy to park this thing. If you crash it, stop driving. I like that there's two USB Type-C ports exposed so people can see them and find them easily, but underneath this sliding tray, which is where my phone usually sits, there's a Qi wireless charger, and there's also a USB-C port for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and there's also a normal USB Type-A port and a normal 12-volt car charger. Behind all that is the shifter for the CVT. If you're used to the Toyota Prius, this is a very similar shift pattern. Nothing wrong with it, but I just don't like that there's a button for park. I wish that if you pushed it all the way forward, it would put the car in park. But you win some and lose some with all these electronic shifters. There's two cup holders, which are reasonably sized on the right side of the shifter, and the frontmost cup holder actually can go down more to hold a bigger or deeper drink. And if you push this push button, it raises the floor of it. Also in this area, you can see that there's an EV mode button, so you can drive the car in EV mode for a certain amount of time. Of course, this isn't a plug-in hybrid, so the car uses the gas engine and regen braking to charge up the battery. The center armrest itself is pretty soft and comfortable as well. There's stitching on it, and it opens in both ways for the driver and the passenger, but there are not any plugs or ports in there. I wouldn't expect it because there's so many up front. Now we can talk about the seats. They're really comfortable, but just like other RXs, this isn't the sportiest thing in the world. The bottom of the seat offers a lot of support for my legs and also my thighs as well. And my back is nicely supported, very soft seats and a soft material. Like I said, for the rear seat, it's a perforated leather with suede inserts in the middle. It feels very nice, and both the driver and passenger side seats are heated and ventilated. The steering wheel is also heated, I almost forgot to mention that. But the driver and passenger side seats offer full power adjustment with four-way lumbar, very nice, and also a thigh extension for both seats as well. You can really get comfortable in this thing. Also, just like a lot of new cars, this one has a digital rear view mirror. Of course, if you tilt it back down, it'll turn into a regular mirror again, but I've gotten used to the digital rear view mirrors, but I'm curious what you guys think about them. This one also has garage door home link, and the buttons on the right side can control how you adjust the mirror as well. And of course, it's auto dimming. Just like all other Toyota and Lexus hybrids, when you're setting off, unless if the AC has been running all day like this one, it'll normally be in EV mode. Most of the time it'll be in EV mode, and in this case, it'll be sending power to the rear axle. One thing that you'll notice as I pull onto this main road is that not only this car has rear cross traffic alert, this has a front cross traffic alert as well. If I pull up and let off the brake, it'll beep, and then it'll show arrows on the heads-up display and also in the cameras that cars are coming. I'm gonna put my foot on the gas and go now though. Wait, it got to like 65, 70. Not bad at all. I read some reports from other people that have said that these feel slow off the line, and I would have to say I disagree. Of course, this isn't fast, 246 horsepower, 233 pound-feet of torque, but listen to that CVT. It sounds great, but it puts its power down very smoothly, and also this CVT is good. It's responsive, because I'm in normal mode right now, and it's responsive. It does everything that I want it to do, and honestly, when I'm driving it normally and quietly, it's not that loud. I did want to demonstrate, hopefully the car has enough charge, but I wanted to see, whenever I go into my neighborhood, I'm not in my neighborhood now, but I like seeing how far this can go in EV mode. Hopefully the battery is charged enough for me to do that, because I've been just sitting. In EV mode, this thing really quiets down. You'll see the little green EV light that pops up on the gauges, but if you keep the throttle under a certain percentage, you can stay in EV mode for a pretty decent amount of time. Pretty much all neighborhood driving can be done in EV mode. That's why you get such great gas mileage, or stop and go traffic is EV mode, or just if you're driving in the city, EV mode. This thing really has the potential to get 40 mpg, I'm sure. The steering is very light. It's very RX-like. It's exactly how I'd want it to be in this car. There's not a lot of road feel, but that's not really a bad thing at all. This thing takes corners very well, and it's not a sporty SUV. The RX has never been a sporty SUV. If you want to drive it a little quickly around corners, this car especially feels planted doing it, but you don't feel like the raw connection that you would feel in something like the Acura MDX or BMW X5 or even the new Mazda CX-90. The ride is pretty smooth even with these 21s on it, but the one thing that I will say, depending on the road surface, I'll give it some credit. There has been a little bit more road noise than I'd like, but most of the time this is a very quiet and hush-hush experience. I mean, I could whisper. There's a deer, I'm going to let it go. Under normal acceleration, the engine is also pretty quiet. It's only under wide open throttle or heavier throttle when you really have to give it some input, like now. I'm gonna put myself into, damn it. These infotainment systems, sport drive mode and sport transmission mode. I know there's cross traffic, but we will see how it does. It's not like, you don't feel the speed. I'll let off. You don't feel the speed. It just accelerates. And I guess that's why maybe some people may feel like it's slow, because yeah, it's not fast, and I'll keep saying that, but it's not bad. It's fine. I'm also glad that there's not a lot of CVT rev hang. That's really annoying and really unrefined. That's why Lexus has done a great job with this powertrain. I'll put myself back into drive, and I like that in the infotainment screen there's a tab for frequently used buttons, so that you can program them, and it also can just guess what you use most frequently. But if you're used to older RXs, especially the outgoing model, this is of course a pretty big departure, because the old car was a little bit more old school than this, you know, because this one has all the screens in it, but it still feels like an RX. It still has the smooth bones, the smooth ride. Everything about it is so smooth. The steering, again, is exactly how I'd want it. It's very quick and very responsive. It's great for driving in town and just weaving in and out of traffic, you know, not like an Altima driver, but you know what I mean. Going somewhere with an authority. This does have regen braking, but it's not that strong. I do have to applaud how Toyota and Lexus have designed the brakes on this, because it feels like a normal car. The entire experience of this feels like a normal car, and that's something that I very much appreciate. I'm going to give it some beans again. It is not slow. Like that was 80. It's not slow. Not slow. It's not fast. And the engine makes it sound like it's not really doing anything. So of course, out of the two hybrid RXs, I'll be honest and say that I would rather have the RX 500h because it has more power while still offering good fuel economy. But for people that don't need the extra power, this has just enough power for any city or highway driving that you need to do. Gets up to speed perfectly fine. Buttery smooth powertrain. The only issue I have with it is the engine just being a little bit loud. Other than that, I mean, honestly, I think anyone that would be buying this or driving this barely will hear the engine. So I think it's a great car in that respect if you don't drive it quickly. Thank you all for watching and liking and commenting on all my videos. Thank you for 20K as well. That's a milestone, I would say. It's also nice to have an RX back on the channel as well. But Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, peeps.